It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, so we did our primary education, and congratulations, you just finished grad school. Now we're about to take you to the doctoral program because this next one is the big boy. This is the one that, when executed correctly, can have huge implications on your long-term financial well-being. And this one, again, I know you don't love the name, but it sounds really, really cool. This is the mega backdoor Roth.
By the way, compliment to your employer. If you go and review your options for your retirement plan and you find out a few things, you find out that you can make after-tax contributions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is so powerful, guys. I also think it's big kudos to your employer if they either allow in-service distributions or even an in-service plan conversion.
Yep.
These are powerful things. It means your employer, whoever they're working with, maybe it's your employer or maybe it's just the people giving advice to your employer, they're saying, you know what? We want to load your employees up with a retirement plan that has all the bells and whistles because this is cutting edge stuff. Because I can tell you, so many of you guys have written us like, hey, I go and talk to our plan rep and I say mega backdoor Roth. And they're like, what?
What's that? I've never heard of that.
What is that? That is something I've never heard of. So if you have, that's why we're going to tell you, I'm telling you all the components you need. You need to, it's just like you can't make a great batch of cookies without flour.
Yep.
And without, beating the butter, and the butter has to be done a certain way. It all doesn't work. So you have to have the right components to do these strategies. So if your employer is offering these key ingredients, it means that they at least have somebody in their ear that's trying to help you maximize these.
All right, so let's back up for a second because we've talked about the components, but let's talk about what it actually is. The mega backdoor Roth is the ability, if your 401k plan is structured in such a way, to allow you to put away not just thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars potentially into a Roth IRA every single year. So a lot of you know that when you go into your 401k plan, there are two types of contributions. There are pre-tax contributions and there are Roth contributions. We've already talked about that previously in the show. But for some of you, when you go in there and look, you're going to see a third type of contribution. There's pre-tax, and then there's Roth, and then there's after-tax. And you're thinking, oh, well, after-tax, you just mean Roth, right? And I get that question all the time from clients. Oh, after, you just mean Roth. No, this is something very different. We all know that with 401ks, there is an annual limit that you're allowed to put in there, $19,500 if you're under 50. Well, what a lot of folks don't realize is that you actually can put in more than $19,500. You can go all the way up in 2021 to $58,000 into your 401k, but only $19,500 can be across the pre-tax or the Roth portion. The remainder of that bucket gets filled up either with employer contributions like safe harbor, matching, profit sharing, or your after-tax contributions.
So there's a good number. You're just not filling up the full $58,000 because your employer, even if they're generous, they have a 4% match or something like that, and they're doing a profit sharing of maybe 6% or 4% on top of that. It's still, there's a good chance it doesn't equal $58,000. Right. So if you have an after-tax option in your plan with in-service distributions or in-service, conversions, you can fill up that extra gap and take it all the way to $58,000 or whatever the annual limit, because it does adjust each year. And it can be then immediately converted to Roth assets.
So a lot of folks I get why I have to have the after-tax contribution because that's what lets me go over the 19.5. I don't fully understand why I need the in-plan conversion. I don't understand why I need the in-plan distribution. Why does that matter? Well, the way that after-tax 401k contributions work is when you put the money in, it goes in after tax. Well, all of the earnings that grow on top of that grow tax-deferred just like everything else in your 401k. So when you go to pull that out, your contributions will come out tax-free, but all those earnings are going to be taxed to ordinary income. So it's a really good way to build tax-deferred assets. The reason why you either need the in-plan conversion or the in-service distribution is you want to take those after-tax contributions that you've put in there and you want to get them into the Roth bucket, because once you get them in the Roth bucket, all of those earnings inside the plan are going to be completely tax-free. Without the distribution option, you just have a mega 401k. You don't have a mega Roth. You got to get it into the mega Roth bucket in order to get that tax-free benefit.
So we've made these things sound pretty peachy. I mean, it's sounding, I think a lot of you guys, I probably heard the door slam because you're going to check out, to go talk to your HR department about this thing. Are there some downsides? Because there are a few cautionary things we need to warn people about.
Yeah, one thing you want to be careful of. The first is you could squeeze out your employer money. So there's only one thing, in our opinion, that's better than your money being tax-free. And that's free money from your employer. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're not contributing because, remember, the IRS says, hey, we're going to give you a bucket and you can put $58,000 in that bucket. Well, if you fill up that bucket before your employers had a chance to put their money in, your employer just gets off scot-free. Yeah. They can't put any more in there. So you want to make sure you leave enough room for whatever your either profit sharing or matching or safe harbor contribution from your employer is.
The other thing is all my small business owners. Look, you're going to get excited about this, but I can tell you, especially if you're in a higher income situation, just because you can doesn't mean you should, because there might be some additional ways you ought to take the tax savings now, load up the $58,000 through the profit sharing, cash balance plans, and then you can even go above that with that cash balance plan. Yep. You might need the tax savings currently because remember, you're hopeful, especially if you're in that 37, maybe soon to be 39.6 federal tax rate. You're very well, if you manipulate the 3-bucket strategy, you might be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, and you might need the money savings to save that 37 to 40% taxes that you're currently paying in current year.
The third downside is, and this is just because we've done this enough. We do this with a number of clients. It can be administratively difficult because a lot of 401k plans, a lot of 401k providers, it's a small percentage of folks who can take advantage of this. It is the financial mutants at these companies that get to do this. So usually you can't just do it online and process it electronically. You usually have to make a phone call, and even sometimes you have to send money out of the plan because there's some, pre-tax portion. And then once it's out of the plan, you got to send it back into the plan. There are a lot of moving parts if you want to do this well and make sure that it stays tax-free. So there's some administration involved. Again, this is one of those areas where if you're trying to tackle this strategy, it may not be crazy to have someone come alongside you, partner with you to make sure you're doing it right. Because when done right, it's awesome. But when done wrong, it can leave a lot of headaches.
So, Bo, this is one I'm kind of excited to see because it wasn't done, I don't think, when in pre-show planning yesterday, is that I asked the question of who should do this? Yep. And, FTE Daniel was working on a brilliant flow chart. Yep. I can't wait to see if he stuck the landing.
So here are the questions you ask if you want to know if you should potentially do the mega backdoor Roth. Question number 1, have you maxed out your 401k, the $19,500 that you're allowed to do in there? If the answer is no, max that out first. Don't start trying to do the mega backdoor thing. Do whether it's Roth or pre-tax, max out your $19,500 first.
If you have not reached $19,500, you shouldn't even be sniffing around.
That's exactly right.
This is for higher income folks. We know that. I'll just go ahead and tell people, if you're not in a higher income situation where you can save at these levels, this probably isn't going to be the strategy for you.
So if you have maxed out your 401k, your next question is, are you allowed to make non-Roth after-tax contributions? Meaning, does your plan allow it? If the answer is no, you can't do this strategy. Yeah. There's no way around it. You can write HR, you can ask them, you can lobby for it, but if the plan does not allow after-tax contributions, there's nothing you can do. If it does allow after-tax contributions, the next question you would have is, does it allow in-service distributions of conversions? Because remember, without that piece, it's just tax-deferred money, not tax-free money. So you want to make sure that it allows that. If the answer is no, the strategy won't work for it. If your answer is yes, are you under the overall contribution limit? Meaning between you and your employer, are you putting in less than $58,000? Now, I will say there are some employers that are incredibly generous when it comes to profit sharing and when it comes to employer match. And we have seen it before where between the $19,500 and the employer contributions, it fills up the $58,000 bucket. So you want to make sure that you're leaving some room or that you have room to do it. If your answer is yes, then you can do the mega backdoor Roth.
So this is a strategy that's definitely for the sophisticated. That's why we titled this. This is probably, definitely in the more advanced planning strategies. And I think, when I now transition to what should you invest in, I have a little bit different answer on this strategy than I do some of the others, because look, for all the others, because I wanted to focus on foundational behavior, foundational savings, I think you can't do much better than index target retirement funds because it's just so simple. It's those two variables. How much can you save? When do you need it? All the other stuff is taken care of for you. But if you're doing a strategy like a mega Roth contribution, you're in a high income situation because you have a big shovel. You're able to save a lot of money. You probably are reaching that threshold. It just happens to you naturally. Once your assets $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, you're starting to become more concerned about tax location. How do I be as tax efficient with how I structure my retirement assets for taxes? The other thing you're thinking about is what assets will I have access to in retirement so I can legally, remember, once again, legally manipulate my taxes in retirement. All these things are going to come into play. So if you're getting sophisticated where you do need to pay attention to tax location because different assets are taxed different ways, you're also worried about how you're going to pull this money out in retirement, you probably want to start thinking about talking to somebody that can help navigate all those heavy decisions. And that's why, look, I can't give you the easy answer like the index target retirement fund. That's the beauty of the abundance cycle. If you do this right, I know no matter how simple you try to make your life, complexity will hunt you down. It is the best. If you're playing hide and seek, I totally screwed that up. If you're playing hide and seek, complexity will find you. It is a superb. It is pro level hide and seek player level. It's going to come to you, and that's where the abundance cycle will pay off.
I love it.